Imagine waking up one morning, physically perfectly healthy, and realizing you have absolutely no idea what your own name is. You haven't been in an accident. You haven't had a stroke. You've been experimented on. These events are preserved in declassified records pulled directly from United States government archives, and without their consent. And the people who ordered these covert operations, who authorized the psychological destruction of ordinary people, never spent a single day inside a prison cell. To understand how this was allowed to happen, we have to look at the climate of 1950. The Soviet Union has just acquired the atomic bomb. War breaks out in Korea, and a very specific terror is gripping the nation. Deep inside the intelligence community, a theory was taking hold. Analysts believed the Soviets had discovered a method to bypass physical combat entirely and take direct control of the human mind. The internal logic was ruthless. If the enemy could theoretically reprogram a soldier to act as a sleeper agent, the United States had to learn how to do the exact same thing, and they had to do it faster. The man tasked with winning that psychological arms race was the director of the CIA, Allen Dulles. He was the one who officially signed off on the pursuit of complete cognitive control. An abstract geopolitical fear became the justification for bypassing the law and abandoning basic human ethics. On April 13, 1953, the operation officially launched under the codename Project MKUltra. Its central directive was to find a reliable method to dictate human behavior. The resulting experiments operated entirely outside the bounds of the legal system. They were never submitted to a judge, never reviewed by an ethics committee, and the test subjects themselves had no idea they were involved. Instead of top-secret bunkers, the CIA utilized standard civilian infrastructure. They set up clandestine testing sites inside everyday state hospitals, mental institutions, and federal prisons. Operatives subjected these people to extreme psychological distress. They used massive doses of experimental narcotics, primarily LSD, alongside high-voltage electroshock therapy and weeks of total sensory deprivation. This animated calendar tracks one of the most severe documented cases. The agency secretly slipped LSD to an unwitting civilian, repeatedly dosing him every single day. That forced chemical intoxication continued for 174 consecutive days. The institutions designed to heal the public were quietly converted into active sites of psychological torture, directed by the very government sworn to protect them. Behind the massive scale of these statistics are individual human lives. Frank Olson was a civilian scientist working for the U.S. Army, a loyal husband, and a father of 3. In November 1953, during a remote work retreat, Olson's own intelligence colleagues secretly slipped a heavy dose of LSD into his after-dinner drink. 9 days later, Frank Olson fell to his death from the 13th floor window of a New York City hotel. The government called the death a suicide, but Olson's family never accepted that conclusion. When his body was exhumed in 1994, forensic analysis revealed blunt force trauma to his skull, injuries that occurred before the fall. Forensic experts identified this as evidence of a struggle, occurring just as Olson was privately telling colleagues he wanted to leave the project. For 40 years, the official record called it a suicide, but the data suggests the agency silenced a man who knew too much. This map visualizes the logistical footprint of the program. Over an 11-year span, MKUltra operations quietly infected 80 independent facilities scattered across the entire country. The network successfully infiltrated 44 major universities and 12 separate medical hospitals. By 1973, political scrutiny surrounding the agency was mounting. Sensing an imminent congressional investigation, CIA Director Richard Helms gave a final, sweeping order. He ordered the complete destruction of the program's history. Operatives systematically shredded every internal memo, every financial record, and every victim's name associated with MKUltra. This calculated destruction almost entirely erased an 11-year domestic terror program, leaving behind little more than an unprovable ghost story. The only reason we know about any of this today is due to a clerical error. One single set of documents had been accidentally misfiled inside a remote financial records building that the shredding teams missed. In 1977, investigators stumbled upon those boxes, recovering 20,000 pages of classified files detailing the horrific scope of the experiments. The discovery forced the program out of the shadows. Official Senate hearings placed the CIA's actions on the permanent public record. Yet, despite 20,000 pages of proof confirming a decade of illegal human torture, not a single person involved was ever charged with a crime. The agency stood before Congress, admitted to utilizing unknowing Americans as test